were opening up Halloween nights during COVID and trying to buy plastic because, like, you know, it's outdoors. You don't want to serve it on glass because people are going to drop stuff, right? So, and then, like, there's nowhere to wash dishes in a haunted prison, historical prison that only has running water and, like, one bathroom. But we're in COVID, so there's a plastic shortage. So, like, you're, like, panic buying plastic glasses. We were making a pumpkin punch. There was, like, a pumpkin shortage. You couldn't find canned pumpkin. I really like these pop-up, like, give me a kegerator or jockey box and tell me to go sell beer on the street somewhere and I'll find a way to do it.
Welcome back to the Brew That Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always by Evan Blum. And tonight we welcome on Erin Wallace of the Pink Boot Society, but longtime Philadelphia beer bar, brewery owner, and currently the assistant general manager of Other Half. But you have such a long history. Like we wanted to bring you on for the Pink Boots, but it's like I said before we came in here. You have so much to talk about. You have so much history in beer in Philadelphia. So I want to start from the beginning. Back in what it was the. We don't have to say a year, but
I don't even remember. It was.
It was the Old Eagle Tavern. That was the first thing.
Yeah, maybe 1990s.
Okay.
I graduated. I graduated in 2000, so probably like 2003, 2004.
Wow, and you're a baby compared to our next two guests. We have Brian O'Reilly and Tom Kehoe. So
you're
spring chicken.
I worked with all those guys for a very long time as well.
Awesome. Well, welcome. And I guess we want to hear, from the beginning, you know, what I first saw was like you started off as an owner of a beer bar. So, like, can you kind of give us an explanation of, like, how that happened and then, like, kind of...
Yeah, well, I started out bartending in college.
Okay.
I went to art school. So, you know, when I graduated college, I could do so much with my degree in fine arts and painting.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Moore College of Art and Design. So I started bartending at Cherry Street during my last year of college.
Cherry Street.
Best hot beef and cheese in the city.
Yes.
I still go there, and they still give me shift beers and shift drink and food. Yeah, they're like shifties. I was like, yes. So I started out working there, and then had the opportunity. My ex-husband wanted to open up a bar with his family. And so they kind of put me in the role of running it. They were going to finance me, and I run it. And it was supposed to be for a little bit until I went to go focus more on my art and things like that. And then it never ended. Then it would just kind of grew. It was like we opened up the Old Eagle,
in
turned
Manayunk,
it
right?
in Manayunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were up the hill, kind of close to Dawson Street Tavern. And we served craft beer because that's what we love to go to drink. I remember when I really got into it, like Cherry Street always had some craft on. I knew Tom Kehoe used to come in and sell us yards. Carol Stout used to come in and sell. They were the beer reps for their brands that long ago. And they used to come into Cherry Street as regulars who were also selling their product. So we always had a couple lines of craft beer on at the time. But, you know, mainly Yuengling, Guinness, that kind of thing. But I went on a trip to Austria and Germany with a group from Cherry Street. And there I really got into craft beer because it was like every city you went to, you didn't go and order a Budweiser. Every city had its own brewery. So you went in and you ordered by style. You ordered your lager, you ordered your wheat beer. And I just fell in love with the beer so much.
Yeah.
That when I came back, I was really going out and looking for different craft brands.
Nice.
And realizing that, you know, we always had Dogfish had like 60-minute or 90-minute on at the Old Eagle. We always had stouts like Scarlet Lady. They weren't my favorites, but then I was like, oh, I like wheat beers. Or I like more Belgian style saisons and doubles and triples. So I would go out and look for those. And so when we opened up...
Was it hard to find those at that time?
You could find them. I mean, you had Monks around, so they're
Sure.
like Philly's always had craft beer. I feel like in our like even so like I used to go to New Wave a lot. You used to find Hogarden was everywhere, Guinness was everywhere. So you would find those things. Flying Fish was around and Yards was around. But I realized I didn't really like IPAs, but I liked these things instead.
Yeah.
And so I was willing to try more. So when we opened up the Old Eagle Tavern, we wanted to have a little neighborhood corner bar, but we wanted to have the good beers, and we really worked at making sure we had different styles. And then it hit the point of like, well, we're serving the same food everybody else is serving. So what are we going to do to make ours different?
Yeah.
So then I got really into finding a good chef and learning about the food and pairing and doing that kind of thing. We started doing beer dinners. We started doing, tap takeovers and more event stuff. One of our big things we always did at the Old Eagle that were fun were dinner, beers, and movies. So we would pick a movie that they're probably illegal. It's probably illegal because we didn't pay any rights to show it or anything like that. But we put a movie on the TV and we would pair beers and food to go with it.
That's cool.
So like one night we did Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny cartoons and we had Duck Rabbit Brewery and we made
that's really cool.
rabbit stew and duck ragu. Like, who's gonna eat that at a corner bar? Like, everybody ate it at the corner bar.
Pretending
like,
you're
that's
eating Donald Duck or something.
Yeah. So, and then we did like one with Breaking Bad, and we had all different kinds of beers on, and we did like fried chicken and tacos and stuff like that. But then it was like, okay, well, now we've had that place. So it's like, what do you do next? Well, you open up another bar in a different location. So we ended up opening up the Devil's Den. That one,
Street.
Yeah, 11th and Ellsworth. That one was definitely more of my baby. Like how we designed it, the menu, the food. It was really.
Did you build out these spaces, or they were already something before this?
The Old Eagle. So they were all bars beforehand. The Old Eagle was just a little corner bar. We didn't really change much besides like some paint, and we put in a kitchen there. It didn't really have a kitchen. We put in a kitchen there and a better draft system. But other than that, we kind of had the old wood walls. We had really old beer memorabilia and stuff from like crazy beer trays from brands you've never heard of before and stuff. The Devil's Den was an Italian restaurant. Supposedly a little mobbed up-ish is what I heard.
That's kind of cool after the fact, but
not with us.
As long as it doesn't bleed over, I think you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, like that was definitely a little interesting. There, we kind of did the opposite. The kitchen was already there. We did some upgrades to the kitchen, but we pretty much gutted the restaurant side and rebuilt that. So it looked real different from like the photos from when we went in there.
Yeah.
And then that was where we kind of really, and it was hard, like trying to pick up in a new neighborhood. You get started. I mean, the Phillies went in the World Series that year, like really helped kind of like push it over, like because it like all of a sudden we became the neighborhood spot to go watch the bar because the closest bar there at the time to us then was the Pope, so it was far enough away. So it was like it was great. I mean, I remember when they were winning, we had two TVs in the bar room, but nothing in the dining room, and we rented a big screen and a projector, and there were just people sitting on the floor because you couldn't get in. You couldn't get in. Like staff would walk outside, come in the back alleyway through the kitchen, and just hand a beer and point, and people would just hand beers over to people. This
city revolves around the Eagles, but Red October, like
the whole and just the vibe, though,
Yeah.
like everybody was so. I mean, it was amazing. It was an amazing year. And just to kind of see that. And that's where I really kind of started focusing on larger events. We would do a lot of block parties, a lot of beer dinners, a lot of tap takeovers. Got really known for focusing a little bit, not only on just the local craft, but also some imported stuff. So we would work with a lot of the different distributors and importers and bring them in for fun beer dinners and things like that.
Nice.
Loved it. And then the next step was to open Barren Hill. So we bought the old General Lafayette in Lafayette Hills out near Conshohocken and opened up a little brew pub. The idea was
Well,
to...
little, it was like 9,000 square feet, wasn't
yeah.
it?
Well, little in the fact that the brew pub itself, the
Okay.
brewery itself was small.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever saw it.
I've seen pictures. I've not
Yeah,
been in
like the brewery was this closed-in front porch and the basement. And then, but the pub itself was huge. It had 2 bars. I mean, there was an upstairs, a downstairs. There were like 3 staircases. It was like you were walking around in circles. I'd be looking for one of the employees. They'd be going down the back stairs. I'm going up and we would just like be walking around in circles looking for each other the whole day. But we were there for about 5 years. Won a couple awards.
I saw that we talked about it before. This was Scott Morrison.
Yeah. We won. Scott brewed a beautiful, my favorite style, saison. It was called Beer to Extra. So it was a higher alcohol saison.
Cool.
And we won a World Beer Cup and a GABF medal with it.
Sick.
So that was pretty
I feel
nice.
like nowadays winning those is very cool. Back in the day, winning one of those things was like, I mean, that showed like how good you were. Everybody was actually putting
the
their beers
beer
in.
geeks knew about it. The
Yeah.
average customer didn't know what any of
Definitely, yeah.
any of it was. And in the suburbs at that time, there weren't as many breweries and things like that. So I think they didn't, they didn't understand what they had there.
Yeah.
But there we really worked with pairing beer and food. The chef and the brewers would always work together. We would even come down and do some classes at like Cook and all. I remember one we did where we did ceviche and beer pairings. And usually you have the beer and the chef makes the food for the beer. But this time the chef created a ceviche and my brewer at the time brewed a beer to go with that specific ceviche.
Nice.
Cool.
So it was kind of, he's like, these are my flavor profiles. This is what I would I think would pair well with it. So it was
That's
interesting
cool.
to see it work backwards, to go the other way.
Yeah.
So we did a ton of events out there as well. At the same time, I ran one of the PHS beer gardens that one summer.
Where was that? You did that
I
at the same
had,
time?
yeah.
With Devil's
So-
Den
And Old Eagle
Oh
and
my
Barren
God.
Hill. So at one point I had 3 restaurants and the pop-up beer garden. And what we would also do is use our licenses to do pop-up events. So I started doing pop-up beer gardens with Historic Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So we'd work with the Betsy Ross House,
Oh, that's so cool. Actually.
the Electrical Spectacle. I hosted one of the first beer gardens. Like, talk about spending the month of December outside every night
what's the
pouring
electrical
beer.
Is that the thing by the bridge?
Yeah, where they have the fountains
Yeah.
and the lights and everything.
Yeah.
So I ran one of their first beer
Okay.
gardens. And then I partnered up with PHS. We ran a beer garden in, Liberty Place Mall.
Yeah.
We ran a beer garden in the mall for them one time for like a month. Like, I was like, you want me to sell beer? Where do you want me to sell it? Like,
Yeah.
I'll figure, it was like, and it was, I think they did it for like the Golden Globes or awards. So it was like they decorated with like award show kind of stuff. And I'm rolling our kegs in an empty store space every night. And then we roll it out and set it up in the middle of the mall every night. It was like, I'd find a way. I'm really good at finding weird ways to like make weird spaces work. So we did a beer garden in a mall for about a month, and then we did the PH Beer Garden at South Street for summer. That was fun. I learned a lot. I did it all with a broken foot because I broke my foot the first week we were open there. Dropped a keg on
Was
it.
did you guys run that? Didn't FCM do that? Or did they take over?
So the first people that did it were.
Is it rotating? How does that work?
So the first year, it's just like you make a partnership with the PHS. So I
Okay.
think the first year was the group that ran Time and
Okay.
Garage.
Okay.
Yep.
So they did it the first year. They brought me in the second year. And then the people from the Khyber group,
Yep.
there was a second beer garden, and they had the second beer garden.
Okay.
And then they took over all the beer gardens they partnered up and took over all the beer gardens with the PHS towards
Cool.
the end. But we did that. So that at one point it was like 4 businesses running
That's
at the
insane.
same time. And we kept them all, it was a lot of juggling. And somehow every week I made sure that every week I stopped in at every place at least twice.
Yeah.
So it was like sometimes it's like I'd start here,
Yeah.
I'd stop in here, the next day be this one and this one. Like, yeah, it was try to figure out, but I was at every place at least twice, if not more, a week.
Wow.
You gotta have good staff.
That's a lot of fun.
Did it in a broken foot, so.
So then from there, you said Pink Boots was running this whole time, right?
Yeah, so Pink Boots was happening. So Pink Boots has been around, oh God, I'm going to get the dates wrong. 2 years ago was 15th, so I think we're on the 17th year now.
Okay.
Could be the 18th year.
And who
Time
founded
has
it?
all gone fuzzy during COVID. I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, Terry Fernhardt.
Yeah, she's from like Portland or something,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
So she was a brewer, and she took some time off and started traveling a little bit, and she was going to different breweries around the country, and she'd meet another female brewer, and the discussion became like they didn't know that they'd never seen another female brewer
Yeah.
because there were, and at this point in time, it's not like it is now where every city's got 15, 20 breweries. It was, So she would travel, she'd find another female brewer, they'd like connect, brew a beer together. She'd go to another place, find another female brewer, and she started kind of like a list, like to kind of get everybody together. And that's kind of how it started. Like it started as like almost like
a list
just a
of people
list of, so that they could contact each other and meet and talk to other people. And so that's kind of how it started, and it grew from that. And a few years after that, they ended up turning it more into the nonprofit it is now, where it has the mission of education.
Yeah.
That is our main mission, is to assist, inspire, and empower women and non-binary individuals through education. So everything we do, our chapter meetings, they all have some type of educational backbone to them. We do a lot of conferences. We do a ton of webinars.
I think anyone can join that, right? Not even your member, because I think I've been to a couple of them.
So there are different ones.
Okay.
We have some that are member only, and then
Okay.
we have some stuff that's open to everybody.
Yeah.
Our big annual, biannual conference that we do in person every 2 years, that is just open to members,
Okay.
because it's kind of just a chance for us to all get together as
Yeah.
well. But then we have nighttime events that can be open up to the public, but the daytime stuff is usually and a lot of times we're going over membership information in some of those sessions as well too. So, but one of the big things we do is fundraise for scholarships. I think last year we gave out over 85 scholarships.
Wow.
I do not have the exact value number it came in at yet. But every quarter we run a whole list of scholarships that people can apply, that our members can apply to. It is everything. Like I won a scholarship a few years back before I joined the board, where it was tickets to a beer and travel conference. And so it was tickets to the conference and a travel stipend, so I could, cover some of my costs of travel.
Of them?
No, this was for a specific conference.
Okay.
So they worked with the conference to get tickets, then on top of it was some money to cover travel expenses.
Nice.
So sometimes we'll have that for craft brewers conference, craft brewers beer professionals. We'll work that out with them. CiderCon.
You do education scholarships also?
There's brewing school ones. Sometimes it's paid access to other accounts, online classes. One of the big ones we've been doing is eCornell has women in leadership classes that are like month-long intensive training classes on like negotiation and how to ask for a pay raise and how to, some of them are accounting classes and how to do your books.
Yeah.
So it kind of can cover, they're not all like brewing, like this is how you brew the beer and this is how you make the beer. They can be about like, this is how you can balance your books. This is how you do marketing.
Yep.
These are, because they all circle back around. When I started Pink Boots, it was beer only. When I started with it, and we've expanded our mission to include all fermentation and alcohol. So now it's cider, kombucha, coffee, like you name it. We're wine, spirits. We're doing different things in it.
And when you started off, it wasn't a chapter. You're saying that you kind of helped form the chapter.
Yeah, so when I started, you were just a member, like on a website.
Yeah.
And I think it really kicked off more on the West Coast because that was where Terry was from. It's where the first president, Laura, was Stone Brewing. So it really kind of kicked off.
Craft beer was also just like way, like probably 5-10 years ahead of us.
Yeah, and it kind of like more kicked off like Portland, California. And then started slowly moving more over. So in 2015, it was a December, we kind of sat around and we knew that Craft Brewers Conference was coming to Philly in 2016. And Pink Boots always has a chapter annual meetup with whoever's around, because that's when really all of us can kind of get together, because we're all in town for that. And we wanted to showcase a lot of the women from the Philly area we wanted to showcase how strong. We have a lot of women that work in the industry here, and we wanted to showcase what we had. So we sat in the back room of my restaurant and decided to start a chapter. I got voted on as the chapter leader, which was supposed to be temporary. It ended up lasting over 6 years. But that first year, we did our first brew day, which we hosted at Yards. We brewed a.
Is that still the same thing? Is it like, has it always been the same thing where like you have a Pink Boots blend or?
No.
Okay.
So we didn't even have the blend. The blend's only been around, I think, about 5 or 6 years now.
Okay.
So at that point, what we were doing is they would ask for they would like throw out a style, and everybody would kind of brew that style. So we brewed a goes with Yards. And then we hosted our first fundraiser that year, and we hosted the CBC meeting. And afterwards, I was kind of ready just to let it go. I was also on the board of Philly Beer Week, and I was like, I got too much on my plate. I don't need this too.
You don't have that much going on.
I was like, this is too much.
5 restaurants.
Yeah, I was like, this is too much. But one of
you know your limits.
you would think, wouldn't you? Somehow I always sign up for more. I ended up going up to Free Will to brew a collaboration beer with them. And while I was there, I ran into Colleen. She was a brewer with Free Will. She's now brewing with Cantillon. And
Very cool.
Yeah. Like talk about like living the dream.
Yeah.
You know? She had won a scholarship from Pink Boots. She was the first person from the Philly area to get a scholarship. And she had spent a week in brewing classes and came back and talked about how much she got from it. And it was her first day back that I ran into her, and she was just had nothing besides the knowledge, the networking, like the connections that she made, how much better she felt and more competent she felt.
It's like you feel confident. It's like all the stuff that you're doing, like someone that's like an expert tells you like you're doing this correctly.
Yeah, and to hear it from somebody too that might not be like her bosses that she's working with every day too. So when I was hearing her talk about her experience, I was like, this is something really good.
It actually made a difference.
Yeah, and I was like, we need this for more women in the around here. So we're going to keep this chapter going. And it took a while to grow it. We did, we didn't always do weekly, monthly meetings. Sometimes we had like a field trip to American Keg Company where we went up and they showed us how they made the kegs. Then like 2 months later, we did a field trip to Penn Herbs, and they showed us how they bring in herbs and process them in different ways, and like their storage. A lot of the breweries buy some of their
Penn Herbs is crazy. It's like you walk in there, it's just like a Costco-sized thing of like herbs. Like I've never heard of 90% of the things in there.
I've never been to the store down here in the city, but the plant up in the Northeast where they bring everything in and process some of it is insane.
Imagine it's like sensory overload.
And like they're like, here we're making the essential oils. Here we're making chapstick. And because they're making things with it as well, on top of whatever they have to sell. It was like they're like, here, what do you want? Some hibiscus? They're just like, here's this, here's that. It was insane to see what they had there. So we would do things like that, bring in somebody to speak. So we did that for a while, some fundraisers. We started doing more brew days, and just really Bull Women in Beer Festival that we ran pre-COVID.
I think Pink Boots is really cool because you guys are so active. Like, there's not like a local Michael Jackson chapter or anything like that, and there's not like there's local NBA chapters, NBA, but there's not really any other brewing or fermentation thing that's as active as the Pink Boots.
Yeah, and when I started in the industry and when I was growing up, there were other ones like Susie Woods, who used to be the Sly Fox sales rep and the Allagash sales rep. She used to run IPA, so it was called In Pursuit of Ale, and it was like women who just enjoyed drinking good beer, and like we would get together and do that. And then Yards for a little bit had a group called I think they were called Yardbirds, and it was a group of some of their regulars and some of their employees that would get together.
Those just Yards people, or was outside people?
Well, they would let outside people come, because I would join them for quite a few things.
Okay.
They would do one time it was on fermentation and pickling, and one time it was a class on knitting. It was like, but you're enjoying craft beer while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And they would do a mix of things. So you had a couple little groups going, but we were one that was specifically for people in the industry, for professionals.
Also, when there's a lot of little groups, sometimes it kind of gets confusing. I think like consolidation is sometimes better.
Yeah, and that was one thing. Even though we have a space for inspiring members, the whole idea is that if you're doing something with Pink Boots, the idea is to be in the industry and working in the industry. I think one of our big misconceptions is that you have to be, one, in beer, which is not the case.
Yeah.
And two, actual like production brewer. And I mean, I showed that's not, I was a bar owner. Like, I didn't make beer.
It is cool though. Like, yeah, you guys are very active also, but like all the production members that I know that are in Pink Boots, they actually wear pink boots. So it is kind of cool.
Well, and one of the things we started out, the Pink Boots, because I have a pair.
Yeah.
But I got them because when you were awarded a scholarship, part of our program is if you're awarded a scholarship, you have to pay it forward, which means that you have to share what you learned with others.
Mm-hmm.
So you either have to write an article or give a webinar, well, now webinars, because that's became more popular since COVID, or like do a presentation. So I gave a presentation on what I learned to my chapter. So you had to share it and make sure that others could, are learning from you as well.
Yeah.
And then when you did that, you got your pink boots, and that was kind of like I did
cool.
this. Yeah. Now nobody makes pink boots. There's
Really?
not, the two companies that were making pink boots stopped making them. So we have a very small handful, like,
someone needs to make
around.
pink boots in those Sly Fox cans, and
With the tops that came off.
Also.
They stopped making those too. But and it was funny. It was like so it was like now you can't, like, we might have a few like really weird sizes left.
Yeah.
But it's not a thing that we can give out anymore because we don't have a company that makes them anymore that are like, and that are actual, like, I mean, we could find pink rain boots,
yeah.
but that are actually work boots that they could wear safely in a brewing.
Yeah.
The last pair that, besides who I know has them, Carly who was with Tannery Run has a pair from her scholarship, but I got the honor to give Carol Stout a pair of honorary pink boots.
That's cool.
We were going to do it at the last Stouts Festival.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and the festival was canceled. So I was part of the online festival where they recorded, so we gave them to her, and then we got to go up and spend the day with her and actually give her the boots. So at the end of the online festival that she did, her and Eddie are walking out of Stouts, and she's wearing the pink boots on the way out, and
That's
I was like,
cool.
that made me cry a little bit. But that was the thing, like when I came up in the industry, the industry is very collaborative. We are a good industry that we help each other out and share. But when I came out, there weren't too many women. It was like, I was going to Tom Peters and Fergie for advice, and they were wonderful. But when you were looking at the breweries, it was Carol Stout.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't see, there weren't, so
for like 2 decades. It was like there was nobody for a very long time.
Yeah, and that was one of the things about doing Bold Women in Beer Festival. When we did that, we said we want the women who are brewing the beer, we want the women who work at the brewery to be the ones behind the bar at this festival, so that the more you see it, it becomes you start thinking I could do this
I
too.
talked to
100%.
what is this
Pro
guy's
brewer?
name? The guy that started Pro Brewer,
Uh-huh.
and he basically said in 2020 he decided that he was going to push the Michael Jackson Foundation and DEI or whatever you want to call it, like very aggressively. So he makes sure that like all of his pictures on his website are all either female brewers or
Brewers of color,
brewers of color or
I
anything
mean,
like that. And he's just like he's pushing it because like he wants to like put it in front of people so that they see it.
And it's like
something you do, and I try to do, at least like with the Space Cadet event.
What?
Just like all the photos of like younger in.
Oh yeah, we do it with
really
Gen Z.
Honestly, like that's. Yeah.
But it's like I didn't have like have that person always to look up that was
Definitely.
like me.
Yeah.
So like I've always tried to be out there to answer
So that other people
questions
can
to
see
do.
you.
And then there's more people coming up, and the more they're out there doing it, then you start thinking like, oh, I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't see somebody like you doing that, you don't think you.
Yeah, it's
can
not
do
so
it.
much about you putting yourself out
Yeah,
there.
But it's
like,
even like mentally. Like if you don't see somebody like you doing that, then you don't think you can do that. So the more you see it, the more regular it becomes, the more, but yeah, we just announced our new board, and I think they've shared it that it's probably one of the most, with Pink Boots, one of the most diverse boards around right now. It's great. I love it. You have people from, I would say when I joined, there were only 2 of us from like the East Coast on the board, and now you're just seeing us from all over the country coming together. Now every time I ask to do events, I'll ask you what time zone we're in, because I'm working so much with people from all over the world, because we have chapters internationally.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we have about 83 chapters, most of them in the United States, obviously, but one of our biggest, and United States in general is where the majority of our members are, but Australia has a huge chapter. Canada has a huge chapter. There's chapters in Brazil, Germany, Belgium. Like we're,
So cool.
there's just one member. I work CBC. We were working the booth in CBC, and I got to meet the one Pink Boots member from Norway, who was so happy to bring me her collaboration beer that she made. So I got to, and she gave me 2 cans of it, so I got to share it, bring it back, and share it with the chapter. It's
That's very cool.
we're all over. Yeah. So, and I'm very excited to hear Philly is sending. One of the things we do as chapters is the money that we raise, we can use that money for our own educational purposes, but also for scholarships just for our members. So they're just setting up a scholarship now where it's going to be a week tour in Germany where you'll be able to go to see some of the malt houses and stuff like that. So I'm very excited for whoever's going to get that. I don't know who.
And how does the scholarship like that work? You have to submit an application?
So they'll submit an application.
And
usually it's an
member,
essay.
right?
You have to be a member.
Okay.
They'll have to put up their, they usually send in a resume, their work experience, maybe a letter of recommendation from somebody, and then it's an essay. And it's basically the big thing that we look at is how that particular scholarship is going to help further their career and further their path, and if it makes sense.
You said, how much do memberships cost?
Oh God, I think they're like $52 for the year.
It's not that much.
Yeah.
I know a lot of breweries cover it for their employees if they want to join the Pink Boots. And who was the person you said that was at?
Free Will. Colleen. Well, she's with Cantillon now,
Okay,
so she's on the Benelux.
But it makes sense. That's like a very minimal investment for a brewery to be paying for something like that. To then upgrade your employee.
So a lot of we found out, Susie from Allagash, and then there was a woman, Katie, who worked for Allagash as well. They always put a percentage. They'll give them, if it's going to further their career, they'll help cover costs of like Cicerone training and classes and stuff, memberships, professional memberships and things like that. Other Half does that. They cover a portion of the cost. They have a portion of a cost for certain memberships. If you want to do professional development, you can submit and they'll cover portions of it, what they'll cover. So it's always great to see places that'll do that.
Definitely.
It's good for everybody. It's better in your employees to give them the opportunity to do more and learn more, which brings more to your business and all. I always think it's great when places are willing to cover that.
And the hop blend, is that through Yakima Chief?
Yes. So we have the Pink Boots hop blend, and it started out, I think they used to make it, and we would just, but then we got into that we have a yearly, and we used to do it where we'd pick like 5 hops, and then they would blend a ratio of it and do that. This year we did something a little different. Yakima Chief worked with women hop farmers and growers.
That's really cool.
And then they created blends, and we selected one of them to be our blend for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they were finding different ways to wanting to promote the farmers and the women farmers and growers, which I guess we never really, how do you bring that in? So they worked that way this year. And then a portion of the sales of the hops, $1 for every pound, goes back to Pink Boots. You don't have to brew with it if you don't want a beer that makes a lot of hops.
It's normally a pretty good blend, though.
Yeah. It was funny. They were realizing that after we had done it for a few years, particularly when the members were getting together and we were picking the hops, that we were picking a lot of the same hops every year. Like there was it was like 3 hops consistently every year we were picking for it. So they were trying to like change the ratios of them in the different hops, because we were like, Laurel was always in it, Citra was always in it, and they're like, okay, how do we make it so then they would stop giving us certain hops to do. But also this year we started it, released it last year in 2024. Because we are diversifying, that we're not just beer. We are making a malt blend with country malt now as well. That malt blend will change every year. And this way it can be more appealing for some of our members.
I've never heard of a malt blend before. Do they kind of tell you what it is?
They kind of, right now they're working a little bit more with it. Because with the hops too, we would pick out like the 4 or 5 hops we liked, but the people who are the scientists at YCH were like creating the ratios and the blends. When with the malts, they're a little more hands-on with how that is happening, but we do have a Pink Boots malt blend. That way we can look at our newer members that are in distilling, creating a Pink Boots whiskey.
How much of your chapter or the national chapter, like, is it mostly like a far majority is brewers?
We're still beer.
Okay.
I mean, but because we were that for so long.
You started like that,
and we switched to open up our membership, and it was something that was a lot of us were saying, yes, we were around beer for so long. I kind of fit into it because I was a beer bar owner, but like, why couldn't somebody who had cider join? Like the things that we're going, like the ingredients are different, but a lot of the same stuff to run a cider tap room is the same as running a beer tap room, is the same as running a distillery. Like, why couldn't more people be involved? So it opened up, and it required us changing our bylaws and all. And that was the big thing. It was like we couldn't officially do it until all that happened legally. So that we don't get in trouble as a nonprofit. So that happened, but it happened the year COVID hit. So I don't think anybody really knew that for a bit, because like COVID hit, everything shut down, things weren't happening. So now that it's kind of opening back up, we have more members joining. We have a lot of cider members. The American Cider Association used to have Palm Boots. So their version of Pink Boots. And they merged with us as, because they had smaller groups. So they merged with us in Pink Boots during COVID. And, we've been growing.
Also, now that you can sell Surfsides in beer stores, like, they're going to have to combine all the licenses into one. It's not fair that...
In Philly, it's really different.
They want now.
You go down to another state and people are distilling and brewing in the same location because
Yeah.
it's not the same, so it's like the laws have changed.
And they need to change the laws in PA. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's like you don't have to have, so some places are making liquor and distilling and brewing and making cider or, so it's like, why should we? So we opened it up. We're growing on that side. We're adding more scholarships in. We're learning what we need to bring in, adding more webinars and things that way. Yes, the majority is still beer, but that's where we started. So
Yeah.
the core members are
Definitely.
still in it.
There's
Which
also
is-
just a lot more brewing employees in the country than there are wine and distilling
Yeah.
employees. I think.
And you're also seeing, I think you're starting to see it in our board. Our last president was the first president of Pink Boots who wasn't a brewer. She was the director of operations and she was front of the house. And that's the first time somebody who wasn't an actual production person was the head of and now you're seeing the board is more diverse. It's not all production. It is some production. We have somebody who works for a hop company. We have somebody who works in nonprofit. Like it's kind of all over, and that's showing the change too. So it's growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean is it kind of I guess is CBC coming to Philly next year?
Yes. Yes.
2026 is gonna be a very busy year. We have
Yeah.
the World Cup. The
Yeah.
Didn't know
Oh,
that.
you didn't know that? I'll be
I just don't
president
know how
next
you
year
call
too.
it. How do you call it? 250 year anniversary? It's
Oh,
whatever that.
I don't. Sesquicentennial.
250 year anniversary.
Yeah.
250
250 years.
birthday
Yes.
of
So
the United
everything
States.
is coming to Philly.
Yeah.
All-Star game.
WrestleMania again. too.
WrestleMania. All-Star game. I think one of the drafts.
Oh my gosh.
FIFA.
Yeah.
CBC.
So,
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
2026 is our year.
Yeah. I'm very excited to be president that year too. So
Nice.
yeah, we're on like a.
So you just
3
got put in as vice president. Is that how it works? Like it's kind of like a transition. You start off where you are and then you move into.
Yeah. So they have kind of a 3-year where you're vice president, president, and past president.
I like that. Which
So-
they kind of ramp
Yeah.
up.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
kind of good. So you're still having that knowledge, that institutional knowledge. You're not burning somebody out.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
We were in a weird transition period last year, so the one president stayed in the place because our vice president became our executive director. So she stayed in place for 2 years, and as much as she loved it, I think she was like, it was
A lot.
also she's like, I'm ready for a break.
Yeah.
Kind of like I was after the conference. Don't talk
Yeah.
to me for 10 days.
So it's a
But, yeah.
constant rotation every.
Yeah. So it's a 3-year term. So I did 3 years as a regular board member, and then I'm on for like another 2 years. The 3rd year, I'm there to answer as past president, answer
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
No vote, but like can be there if they need a question.
Consigliere.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they need a question. There to support.
Yeah. It's a good system.
Basically now, usually we're taking over as a committee lead or something again. Most of us aren't completely lead. We're so tied in. We all love the organization.
Yeah.
So we're just finding a different role.
Yeah.
Our past president, who just stepped down, going back into overseeing our chapters. So she's going to be our chapter coordinator, liaison, committee head. So we all just kind of move around.
Yeah. So is the Philadelphia chapter, is Philadelphia, does that include everything in New Jersey also?
No, so New Jersey has their own chapter.
Okay. So it's just Philadelphia, like southeastern Pennsylvania?
I would say we usually just kind of do, we have members. It's
So
also,
83 is a lot of chapters.
yes. So kind of the rule is you have to be 15 miles apart from any other chapter
Okay.
before you can start a new one now. We are mainly based in so like a couple things. We're mainly based in Philadelphia and the surrounding counties.
Yeah.
But we've had members as far up as Wallenpaupack.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's like close to New York line. Like, I've had members from Cape May. We've had members from Delaware because Delaware doesn't have a chapter. So the nice thing is you can be a member of more than one chapter. So New Jersey has a chapter, but a lot of them, like you pay a little bit, you pay like $10 extra. You can be a member as many chapters as you want. So a lot of like Southern New Jersey's also members of Philly. Philly's also a member of New Jersey. I'm also a member of Erie and Pittsburgh. And like, so too, if you have a beer rep who works in different districts, they can join the chapters that they're,
How much of it is production versus beer reps?
There's like industry.
Like in your chapter, like is it?
In our chapter?
Yeah.
I'd say our chapter is probably a little more front of the house right now.
Okay, but it kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it really does. I'd say right now, actively, probably more front of the house than production.
Can you be just involved in a bar, or do you have to be in brewing?
No, just have to be an alcohol.
Okay.
Just an alcohol.
Cool.
So you could be a bartender, you could be an owner, you could do marketing, you could be a writer.
Yeah. Who's the other founding member that you said that works at Forbes?
Tara Nurin was there with me. And then there was a lawyer who specialized. Alva helped us get started, and she was a lawyer who specialized in alcohol law. So it's like it doesn't have to be that you work for a brewery. You just have to work in alcohol. We have people who work in insurance who specialize more in bars and restaurants and breweries. We had somebody who worked in refrigeration. Like talk about like that's one of the most important things we have. Like, so it can be adjacent as well, but you somehow have to be tied into the industry. But it does not have to be that you work for a brewery or you're a brewer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was a bar owner.
Yeah.
I don't know. They let me in.
At Wazak Inc., they keep your water clean, safe, and flowing at its best. From local breweries to busy distilleries, they're proud to serve over 20 spots across New Jersey, New York, and PA with top-tier water treatment that's affordable and built to last. Wazak know that every brewery has unique needs, so they tailor boiler treatment plans that keep equipment running smoothly and efficiently. And for them, it's not just about water. It's about delivering safety, satisfaction, and reliability to every client. So ready to elevate your water quality? Connect with Wazak Inc. today and let them get your system to its peak performance.
Yeah. So now, I guess, I saw after you kind of left your bars in Barren Hill, you were doing some consulting work. Mm-hmm. And then you did that for a couple of years, and then you joined Other Half?
Yeah, so I sold Barren Hill, and I want to say it was 2016. I think it was the year of CBC. Actually, it was on the CBC floor when I agreed to the contract and the pricing. Sign it that day.
Making deals on CBC.
But yeah, on the floor at CBC. When
I just walked around CBC and got free stuff, so you're much more productive than me.
But I agreed then, and then I sold Old Eagle right before COVID really hit. I mean, like literally. Wow. Maybe 4 months, 5 months before COVID hit.
Good
like
timing.
I had no idea, And then the Devil's Den, we closed October 20. Oh God, really time has
and that's
stopped.
Bacon now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so we closed in October, and I took some time off. I needed a little break.
Yeah.
I mean
COVID's
COVID's exhausting. Yeah, and like trying to keep things running during COVID where every day, I mean, I'd go in and then we had, you had the Me Too movement, you had everything that happened with George Floyd,
and
you
were on,
so much stuff coming at you all the time.
Philly Loves Beer, whatever, Beer Week during that time.
Yep. And like, I mean, when the riots were happening, it was like we would go into work at 4:00, and then like not sure when they were gonna shut us down because there was a curfew. So it's
I remember I was working out of the city and I had to leave early one day because I wasn't sure what was happening.
Yeah, and it was like you just didn't know when. Like so every day it was like I don't know we're gonna be open or not, and then then we could do outdoor dining, and then you could do this, and then you could do that. And now you can't do that. I mean I remember they came out and measured.
I think I was like 5 years older during 2020.
Yeah, like they came out and measured in between the tables outside to make sure they were, apart far enough. And like, like it was just like insane time that like I just needed a break. Needed a break. I needed some time off, I needed to decompress.
Yeah.
I spent some time with my family. I did a little traveling.
Nice.
I was doing some catering. I was working with a catering company for a while, and I was
Cool.
doing some consulting. Around that time, I did some consulting for Upper Reach Meadery before they got hit with the hurricane.
Where's Upper Reach?
So they were opening up a location in Phoenixville.
Okay.
They were building out a production brewery, but in the meantime, they were doing production in the basement of Free Will.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
and then.
So we
It was, like,
opened up.
totally I remember reading about this. Now you're
Yeah.
saying it.
So we opened up. I worked with them, and we opened up a bottle shop in Phoenixville. They were doing construction in the basement for production. I helped them open up a bottle shop. I was running that and doing some events and things with them. And then the hurricane hit, and it flooded out. I mean, Free Will.
That was insane.
The basement was completely gone,
Yeah.
and it was a couple feet on the first floor. So, but they lost all their equipment. They lost all their stuff, storage. You know, whatever inventory that was
And
at the bottle shop
and
was
so
all we
much
had
of their
left.
stuff was in
Years.
wooden kegs. It's
Oh.
like of any other breweries to get hit
Oh
like
my
that.
God,
it's
they were
insane.
making some of the most beautiful patent meads, and
Yeah.
just gorgeous barrel aged stuff. They were doing this tequila barrel aged mead that was unbelievable, and I was like, "It's ready to sell," and he's like, "It's not," and I was like, "Yes," and then it's all gone, like their office equipment, like everything. So I mean, he was working. Adam went to go work at Victory for a while after that. The owner of Upper Reach,
What's his name?
Adam Crockett.
Maybe I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I have a terrible memory. I definitely met the.
I think he's there now.
Okay.
So maybe you guys missed.
Probably.
But I was, so I was working with them for a while. I did some work with Triple Bottom, helping her run large scale events outside
Cool.
of the brewery. So Halloween nights. I mean,
Which is such a cool, like,
Yeah, we
such
have
a
to
cool
we have
concept.
to have Tess on here at some point.
oh my God.
Is she involved in Pink Boots?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It was crazy. I mean, and we're opening up Halloween nights during COVID when you can't even and trying to buy plastic because it's outdoors and you don't want to serve it on glass because people are gonna drop stuff, right? So and then there's nowhere to wash dishes in a haunted prison, historical prison that only has running water and one bathroom, So, you can't serve glass, you gotta serve plastic, but we're in COVID, so there's a plastic shortage. So, you're, panic buying plastic glasses. It was, the most insane. We were making a pumpkin punch, a non-alcoholic pumpkin drink that then you could add alcohol to. So, it was something kids could drink, it was something people could have.
Yeah.
And there was, a pumpkin shortage. You
The
couldn't
pumpkin
find
shortage.
canned pumpkin. Because everybody was home baking.
Yeah.
You couldn't find canned pumpkin. Just crazy, insane things I never thought I'd have to deal with. So I ran that for 3 years for her. Helped run Cherry Blossom Festival
Cool.
as well. I really like these pop-up,
Mm-hmm.
give me a kegerator or a jockey box and tell me to go sell beer on the street somewhere and I'll
Yeah.
find a way to do it. I really and then I started working for a catering company as well. And I think that's one of the things I like about events and stuff. I like that every day it was something different, especially with Eastern State. I never knew. Maybe we lose power because we're working off of generators.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is going to go. Who knows? It was every day was different and there was some kind of problem or something to solve that you had to figure out how to work around.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I liked about catering too. It was some days I'm working in these gorgeous museums. The next day we're cooking out of somebody's garage. Who knows? Oh, this doesn't work. 3 of the chefs didn't come in. Great, I set up my bar. I'll cook in the kitchen with you. There was always something going on and something to do. And then I got a little bored. Of all the bouncing around
Yeah.
too. So I decided to kind of look for one place again. So now I'm at Other Half. I'm their AGM and their events coordinator. So that keeps me busy because I'm planning all their public-facing events in the Philadelphia location, along with doing all their private parties and all. So it's a lot of fun there.
Nice. And they're growing so quick that it's like, I mean, you're telling all the expansion.
Yeah, I think since I've joined, they've opened up 2 new locations. So I've only been there for like
nuts.
6 months, 7 months. So all I got is like every time I turn around, I'm like, wait, there's another one.
One of the few breweries in like the past 10 years that have gone from small scale to regional.
Yeah, and it's interesting the way I like it. It's interesting the way it's one of the bigger, if not the biggest company I've ever worked for, because usually it's all been me and like smaller little businesses. It's definitely interesting to see how they work to make it all work together. And then at some, like all the managers were, like all the front of the house managers were on meetings weekly, so we know what's going on at the other locations. But each kind of location brews different styles and different things. And then we all send them to New York, and they all get spread out.
That's cool.
Because then too, if you had everybody was brewing Green City and
It's
broccoli,
inconsistent.
well, not only that, like we wouldn't have tanks for anything else. We would just all be brewing the same beers all the
That's
time.
also if you're brewing the same, but if the one brewery's always brewing broccoli, they're going to be much better at brewing broccoli than if each different location has to brew it.
And if we're all brewing our own beers all the time, you'd never have 20 different ones on at any given time because you would just have your tanks full all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm at the Philly location. We just do draft only, and they're considered the experimental. So it's like we brew a lot of the things that aren't the hazy IPAs.
It's like your job.
Yeah, it's fun. But
Yeah.
the other half brew house is pretty big, right? It's really nice looking.
It is a nice size. I think we're one of the smallest, though, production size for them. I know that Domino's the smallest, but that's just
There's
like
the
a
only
little.
one I've been to actually.
The Domino one,
Yeah.
I think that's actually
Domino's
the
doesn't even
smallest.
look like
They're
a
like
restaurant. You walk in and it's just like it's on stilts, and you're like, who's
and I think
brewing
they
this?
do some small like one-off kind of things up there.
Yeah.
Like you don't see that down here too much. We're doing more of like for Oktoberfest. We did a lot of the German beers. They were brewing Weizenbachs. They were brewing the German Pils.
That's cool.
Anything that doesn't come in cans.
Mhm.
Usually the cider comes from Philly. A lot of the non-alcoholic beers. We just tapped a new non-alcoholic recipe that we're trying out, which is a non-alcoholic stout called Nada. It's really nice. It's beautiful flavoring.
Mhm.
So, we're brewing a lot of the not the hazy IPAs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's fun though.
Yeah. I mean, we're drinking the hazy IPAs,
Exactly.
but we didn't make
No,
this.
it's good. It's super fun. You said this is the first beer that they canned.
Yeah, so that's what I just learned this week. Super fun. It's 4.2. That is the first beer they ever made in cans that they ever canned. Yeah.
So it's not the first recipe.
No, not their first recipe,
Would that
but
be
the
broccoli?
first beer that they canned. I don't think so. I
Yeah.
think from what I understand, but I'm still learning all these
Yeah.
stories, and I'm hearing them third hand. I'm not hearing them from the owners themselves. And although they're on our meetings and I do talk to them, I don't like they're not usually telling us those stories in our meetings.
Yeah.
I'm hearing them from the brewers or somebody heard it from somebody. Broccoli was brewed as like it was supposed and it just kind of took off and everybody
Mhm.
had fun with it. So now we got broccoli raw, broccoli cheddar, broccoli crowns. I like chicken and broccoli. People will go, is there broccoli in the beer? There's not broccoli in the beer.
I don't know how they do this because a lot of times, like
Oh,
with
why
cold
they- how they
label
got through
approving,
the-
it's
yeah.
like if it's not actually in it, then you have to say that it's in it. And but Other
You're
Half
not
has
gonna
always
say
done
it's-
this, and so
yeah.
maybe it's just like they
I
kind of got
mean-
grandfathered in, so everyone knows it's not in there. But in any other brewery I've ever worked at, it's like you have to like overtly say what is in and what is not in the beer.
Yeah, because they have all that, and then you have the whole like lineup of cheeses. So there's
Mhm.
like brie and cheddar and Gouda, and then there's like, we did one Philly. The first beer that Philly brewed was called Whiz.
Yep. I've seen that.
Like if you write on a label or a can citrus whatever, even
Yeah.
if you're using like hops that taste like citrus, you can't do that because it doesn't have actual citrus in it. You can't write anything with juice. It doesn't
Oh,
make any
my
sense
God.
with me.
I mean, but meanwhile, we got like Juice Brawl, Juice
Yes,
Giant,
yeah.
Juice.
Other half,
you know, like
I don't know what they're doing, but
sometimes
I
it's
like
a little
it,
too
no,
much.
It's cool.
Sometimes green is used a lot. Green flowers, green city,
Yeah.
green down to the socks.
Well, you guys make so much beer. I like the fact that like it's at least, you know, you guys are picking themes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be like there'd be so much going on.
It's like every week on Thursday we get our deliveries, so it's like I know that's when things are gonna change.
Yeah.
And
What's
I walk
happening
into the
now?
walk-in and I'm like, all right, taking inventory is gonna be difficult today because everything's moved around and it's a whole bunch of new stuff. But
Nice.
yeah, I've learned too. We have like sometimes there's color schemes. Like we did Citra Week in I want to say it was July. We did Citra Week. It could have been August. But see this one where it's kind of like that pinkish red.
Yeah.
So all the Citra beers had pink in
Okay.
them.
Okay.
So like all the labels had pink on them. So it was like that was kind of the theme for like anything that is very Citra forward beers are going to be a little more pink.
I like that. It's like some people can taste by seeing colors. You know, it's
Yeah.
like you can match that.
John from Free Will was like that. When
Really?
we would do recipe, he's
Whenever I
like,
drink-
I see it more blue. And I was
Whenever
like,
it's not with everything, but with Mosaic, I think it's like purple and blue.
huh.
And Simcoe is green to me, but maybe that's just because every brewery uses those colors.
Oh,
when they
maybe.
make those beers, but like it's I get it sometimes with like different hop flavors. It's just like I think that it should be this color.
So I studied
But
visual arts.
Citra is not red to me, but
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. It's,
I mean, you would think more like orangey yellow.
I think yellow,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, but like that's, yeah. So like all the labels for Citra Week had pink tied into them, which was kind of cool. I like that.
so, what were you saying about your art design?
Oh, I said I went to, I studied,
yeah,
well,
design.
not design so much. I did fine art.
Okay.
So paint, but I did a lot of photography, painting, mixed media.
Yeah.
And so for me, I could kind of, when John started talking about how he saw flavors and colors,
Yeah.
to me it made sense because I'm like, because I think so much more visually than I do like if you're handing me math and think, like
Yeah.
I have to, so like I can see how people
Yeah.
can do
It's
that. Yeah.
and it's not everything, but there's some beers where I drink. I'm like, this is a blue beer.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, I see that more blue, and I was like, and then he goes, and then we'd have to add something a little red to it, and I was like, what are you? And then he started telling me what he was like, because he was talking out loud, and I was like, what are you talking about? And then when he started explaining to me what he meant, like blue being like, oh, if we're gonna add ginger to it, which is spicy, so that's a little more red. We want to cool it down with something like this, like flavor profile that'll like cool down that spice a little bit. And I'm like, oh, that makes like it totally made sense.
It works for I think brewers because it's like it's not like we need to add this, chemical like hop acid to like get this flavor, but like we're simple creatures. We need to like break it down to the simplest thing. Like this hop is this color,
Well, I always found it pretty interesting too because I felt like with brewers you kind of had like they were like. I mean, this is going to be like, I feel like I'm stereotyping kind of like two of them. There was like the ones that were more the artist and like the ones that were very scientific, like I'm going to follow the recipe and like that's a half an ounce too much, like that were so specific and so science and so like, this is what we got to do. And then the other ones who were like, I see blue and red.
Yeah, the German brewers and the Belgian brewers.
Probably. But yeah, like that's how I, like, and then you meet somebody and you're like, what category do they go in?
yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Where do you think you fall?
I like think that I'm scientific, but like I'm probably thinking like the other way.
I think you're in the middle somewhere. Honestly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I was like, Morrison was probably more of the like arts, like he was so strict on style and things like that too. So I don't know. He probably.
I didn't even know that I knew that he was in brewing in some capacity. I knew that he worked with Andrew at some point, but I didn't realize that he had been brewing so recently.
Yeah, I mean, recently that was 20.
Maybe I'm just getting
13,
old at this point.
15,
Like
yeah.
2016 seems new to me, but it's I don't know. That was cool when I saw that yesterday.
He's great. He knows his. He knows his stuff.
He definitely
He's
does.
Great to work with.
Yeah, Philadelphia brewing legend, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and he would be one sometimes. I'm like, what if we did that? He goes, that's not the style. And I'd be like, oh, man. And I'm like, and when that was the case, you didn't see that many hazy IPAs. You saw a few tired hands stuff, but you didn't see a ton of hazy IPAs at the time. And he'd be like, that's not the style. And I'm like, okay. But it would taste good.
Yeah, styles got kind of thrown out the window at this point. So I guess what's next for you? I mean, you're going to be the president next year at Pink Boots. You're still going to be working at Other Half. Do you have anything else planned? I mean, you've been so busy.
Hoping to work a vacation in there at some point. We'll see how that goes. But the big things I'm working on for Pink Boots, we're working on doing, I kind of oversee, I work with the education committee and the side of that.
Yeah.
So we're kind of working on having our first virtual conference, which is kind of exciting. At the same time, I was planning our next in-person conference, and a whole list of webinars that we host year round. And just kind of taking I don't know.
So
vacation would be nice.
Yeah, if people are listening, how do they get involved with Pink Boots? They just go to pinkboots.com, Pink Boots at Pink Boots Philly,
pinkbootssociety.org, because we're a nonprofit.
Okay.
And they can check out. We have some. If you want to look at what the local chapter's doing a little more, I would say check out our Instagram page. We don't have our own website, but if you check out our Instagram page, that kind of is showing what we're doing. I would definitely say come out and support. Our meetings are open to all.
Yeah.
And if you see a Pink Boots beer and you see it noted on a menu somewhere that says Pink Boots Collaboration Brew Day.
The hops are great, and it's made by lots of different people in the industry.
Yeah, definitely order one of those, because money goes back to Pink Boots, which goes back into our scholarship funds and our educational fund. So it goes to support the local chapter along with the national chapter. So definitely go and order a beer. But also join us for a meeting or something that we're one of our fundraising events. I know they've got quite a few things planned for coming up.
We had Meredith on also, and we had Rafael from Michael, the MJF.
Yeah.
But I think organizations like this are just so good because craft beer is mostly small businesses, and there's not a organization that kind of oversees and makes sure that it's hard for people working at small businesses to look after themselves, and the businesses are too small for everybody to be in unions, because then it's just it's hard to control. But there needs to be organizations like Pink Boots where people can actually get together and put their minds together and make sure things are done correctly. And it's so important for the industry itself to have organizations.
There's networking, but on top of it, and sharing experiences, but on top of it, it's sharing knowledge as well.
It's making sure this business you're not getting lost. You have this network of people you can talk to.
And to ask for advice, to ask for, and I wish I had more. I mean, not that I didn't have it when I was coming up in the industry, growing up and coming up in the industry, but it definitely would have been nice to have more people kind of like me to ask questions for too, because sometimes there's different. Definitely. And, not that there weren't great men who gave me great advice and help over the time, but it helps sometimes to have a woman's point of view too.
Definitely.
Sometimes it helps men to have a women's point of view as well. But yeah, if you see something Pink Boots related, definitely buy a beer, because it'll help support us and support our mission. Swing by Other Half, come have a beer with me. I love to talk about beer and the industry. So anybody ever wants to come by and visit, happy to pour you a sample and chat.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And you can follow us at Brewdat, at the Brewdat Podcast. So subscribe on YouTube. I'll see you guys next week.
I'm gonna see you talking.